Tony Gwynn had a stellar career in baseball and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007. He passed away last year after a long battle with cancer at the age of 54. My guest, Joe Plummer, grew up with Gwynn and has written a new book about his memories of the baseball legend. Joe, what prompted you to write this book?
Basically, I think it was the love for Tony and the Gwynn family that kind of got me going with this. The families got to become close over the years playing ball. We grew up on the west side of Long Beach, about 4 or 5 doors from each other. It was just the love for Tony, I think, that came down to doing this.
Now, you guys met in the Little Leagues in Long Beach.
Correct.
And what was he like as a little kid?
He was pretty spunky, pretty thin, just a lot of energy to do. And was just so fortunate that we happened to be on the same teams together. Back then, we only had basically one car and a family, and Mrs. Gwynn worked up in LA evening shift, so it enabled us to pick up the Gwynns and go to practices and games. And my dad and Mr. Gwynn got to be real good friends over the years, and consequently, Tony and I played ball about the first 7 years of organized ball together. So it was very, very enjoyable.
Now, you played together on the Long Beach All-Stars when you were in high school. What stood out about Gwynn's abilities as a ball player even back then?
I think his ability to always hit. I could barely remember any times Tony ever striking out. He always put the ball in play, had a good eye. I think his vision back then was 20/15, so it was a little better than the normal. But I don't think Tony ever really struck out in high school. I'd like to go back and even see the records if he ever did. But he always could put the ball in play, had a good knowledge of the game, and went forward from there.
Now, he had, of course, an absolutely fantastic major league career, and you kept in touch with him over the years. How did success change him, do you think?
You know, I think the success side of it, success, I think, breeds opportunity. And I think he took that opportunity and ran with it. I think there was a lot of doubters when he was playing ball in high school that he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. He could always hit, but was his arm strength good enough? That he had something to prove to the people that he was a top-notch Major League Baseball player. And consequently, he did prove that.
Now, when he was in the pros, he could have signed as a free agent with any number of big city clubs, but he chose to stay with the Padres his whole career. Why do you think that is?
I just truly believe he was an Aztec for life. He truly loved San Diego. They gave him his opportunity. I think there was the loyalty. I always told Tony, of all the batting titles and all the Gold Gloves that he won, I thought his loyalty award of staying in San Diego was, to me, the biggest thing he could do was give back to the community here, and he did.
Now, you moved up to southern Washington to a town called Puyallup.
Correct.
Which I knew because I grew up in Seattle. And could you tell us briefly about that one time that Gwynn came to your store? You wrote about it in the book.
Correct. I mentioned to Tony that I had a store, and if he ever got up into the Seattle area to come out to the store, we'd like to have him do an autograph session. And it happened to be, I think, September 1st over Labor Day weekend, and we put up a sign on our banner to announce Tony was coming. And it was, people doubted us. It was almost like Mickey Mantle going to Mayberry and doing an autograph session there. But we had about 300-400 kids come through in a couple hours, and all the kids, even to this day, I run into them up there that, oh man, that was the greatest thing, having Tony up here and so forth. And just his generosity to want to come out and do that for us. And he still had to keep his schedule, go back up and play the game. And but just for Tony to take the time out of his busy life was really appreciative to me.
And in just a few seconds, Joe, and the time we have left, what do you like to think about when you remember Tony Gwynn?
His friendship. I was very blessed and fortunate to be the one that Tony and I kind of grew up together. We palled around together. There was so many things off the field that we did. In the book, it talks about it, taking him to Yosemite, doing the camping there, and it just the friendship more than anything. I think I'll miss his laugh. You know, we call and talk to each other, but it was his smile and his laugh.
So, Joe Plummer, thanks very much for joining us.
And thanks you very much for having me.